Welcome back. This is TV3Newday. It's another morning and it's time to discuss the big issues in the news. This segment is proudly brought to you by Niche Chocolate and Niche Cocoa Drink. Great time, great weather for a hot chocolate drink. And so you can opt for the sachet this morning. Just mix it with hot water. No need to add milk, no need to add sugar, and you will still totally enjoy it. It's very delicious, very nutritious. Now, they also have the option of the 750 ml bottle or the Tetra Pak. Whichever one is your option, whether it's for your kids going to school or for you going to work or stepping out, I recommend Niche chocolate drink. And if you're looking to have it with some bread, how about you try the Niche chocolate paste as well, mixed with peanuts. It is very, very tasty. And they also have Niche chocolates. They have the large bars and they also have the gift pack. It comes in different flavors, and so think of whatever flavor and you'll find it in that gift pack. You can give it to someone today, you can give it to yourself. Pat yourself on the back and say you've done a good job. You've been able to cross the week at least so far. We have one more day before the week ends, but at the same time, you've done quite a good job. So Niche Chocolate Taste of Ghana, it is 100% Ghanaian owned, 100% pure Ghanaian cocoa. Remember, it is Niche Chocolate. Let me introduce my guest to you this morning on the show, and Lerato Musa Saka speaks on behalf of the NPP, and she's here. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you too?
Okay? I'm good, thank you. I like your prints this morning.
Thank you.
Yes, also joining us this morning is Nanaya Achimpim Jantwa. She is the General Secretary of the CPP, looking all radiant in pink this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Everything okay? You weren't too well last week.
Yes.
You're better now?
Yes, I'm better.
We thank God.
Cold. I was celebrating, we were celebrating Kwame Nkrumah's birthday.
Yes.
And I was sick as well. But
Can you imagine?
yes, but
I know there was an event around that time. Were you able to attend?
yes, I was there.
Even though you weren't well?
Yes, because it's Kwame Nkrumah.
Yeah.
I mean, once the CPP, I get up and I go. After that,
nice.
then I look after myself.
I see. Thank God you've recovered now.
Yes.
All right, Gabriela Tete also speaks on behalf of the NDC. She's here. Good morning. Good morning. Different hairstyle today. Today we're not doing Rihanna. Today what are we doing? Oh, this is still like a bit of Rihanna.
this is like K-pop, you know, those
Hey,
K-pop artists.
okay. I see.
Signature haircut.
How you doing though?
I'm fine. How
You're
are you?
good. I'm fine, thank you. Let's start off with our first story for today, and KT Hammond is in the news. Now remember that over the weekend, the Global Citizen Festival took place. The president came on stage to deliver an address, and that is where he talked about the fact that himself and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa had dedicated some $1 billion to fight the three main problems that Global Citizen was addressing, which is ensuring equality for the woman and for the girl, fighting extreme poverty, and fighting climate change. Now, when he got on stage, there were mixed reactions. There were some boos, there were some jeers as well. And a number of government officials have been talking about this. In fact, over a week, we've heard some of them even say that it was the NDC and opposition that planted some of these people in the crowd to boo the president. The latest person to speak, actually, is the MP for Adanse Asokwa, Mr. Kobna Tahir Hammond. And of course, we all call him KT Hammond. And he had quite a lot to say about what he thought of the young people who booed the president at the Global Citizen Festival. Listen to what he had to say.
Figurehead, no, Penia, Obi can this year, executive presidency. O money in a penny or that, no. And now, or buy one Cabibia, and your political platforms who can put or buy it. And now, oh, say, oh, this is the idea, depending on how we are to be about. Oh, I would have. I'm not here, no, Mabuna, my year, no one, did the ever catch the Munabutre. And Penfonio, my one, did the America. As somebody as ye Papa, ye say ye Quaco Abra. Yan can say ye go whom Mono Muguana Mutia is a Gubeda Muguano. Yamoni as ye go whom, as ye Quaco whom Abra. Abrawano a penny. Ya when you ya be woody trip, ya Quaco Huno. Most of them were growing now, with your policies now precedent. Money political importance be and your political rally, and your shade, and your Munya Botre, Munchiana more ye Moniamana, Moon for. Now I say policy, now so that I do be at them. Democracy now will be a ye. Now it's in form so yet, and your possible say, Ben Jayman, my moon yet, number one, Montias yet. My young, what you get about what the money and from us any other.
And that is Honorable K.T. Hammond. And for those of you who don't understand Tree, I mean, he called for patience from young people because he said that that platform that the president mounted was not a political platform. It was not a political rally. And so there was no, point in booing the president, especially because these are young people. And usually when it comes to formulating policies and asking for advice, it's the older ones that, give this advice. And so young people would not be able to proffer this advice and run the country like older people are doing. And so he didn't understand why, they had to boo him on that platform. A lot of people have reacted to this on social media. In fact, there's one that said that I think it's time some of our leaders begin to respect the youth of this country. What is this from K.T. Hammond? Lerata, I'll start off with you. I mean, was this the best way to go about the response from the crowd, at the Global Citizen Festival? And the fact that now young people are being told that they have coconut head, sort of comes off as if young people are not entirely respected. Do you get that sense? And was it right for K.T. Hammond to make this statement?
Bella, good morning once again. Good morning to our viewers. I mean, when you listen to, and I'm happy you played the full video, because hitherto when we hear some of these comments, people only pick that controversial bit and put it out there. But if you listen to him carefully, and he said, "Mo amugu hono." So if anybody wants to generalize it to capture all of us, I beg to differ. People respond to you based on what you are. And I don't think any well-meaning Ghanaian should be happy about the kind of conduct that some of the young people who are at this concert put up. I mean, it's something that has to be, is an attitude that has to be condemned in no uncertain terms.
Why?
I mean, what, such indiscipline, that's what he was saying. It was the whole world that was watching Ghana. It was the Global Citizens concert. Is that how we want to portray ourselves as Ghanaian youth? Booing our president?
Is it more about the Ghanaian youth or about the fact that there's unrest, there's unhappiness? We're facing economic challenges. Young people are constantly complaining. They have told government to fix the problem. And in turn, government says, fix your attitude. And so it's as if you don't even listen to the people who complain about the economic challenges. And that was the only platform that they could vent, because they had vented for so long and nothing was being done.
Where did government say fix your attitude?
You didn't see that?
Where
all over social media, you didn't see government officials saying,
you should point to
fix
me
your
when
attitude.
Ghana government said, fix your attitude. But whatever
I say you never
it
came
is,
across any of that.
If you say government said.
If government official says, fix your attitude, what does it mean?
But, Bella, if this
even the president has
what,
said it before.
Look, you see.
That you need to check your attitude as young people.
I see myself as a young person too. And by our training as Ghanaian, by our cultural setting, there's some reverence given to older people. Even when the person is not old and is by age and is in a power, is in a position of responsibility, that same respect is accorded to the person. This is no meaner person than the President of the Republic. Nobody has hidden from the fact that there are challenges. And these challenges are not peculiar to only Ghana, but we will look within. Over the past few months, or should I say years, since 2020 that we got into issues with COVID and all that, there's been a lot of issues. And the finance minister didn't mince words or hide anything when he addressed the press yesterday. I mean, but in all that, in all the chaos, interventions are being put in place. Some modest achievements are being achieved. But if we want to concentrate on such attitude and think that because of the choice of words of Honorable K.T. Hammond and the language he used, we would justify indiscipline, justify attitude, then how do we build
How
this
is
nation?
this indiscipline on a platform that allows people to speak their minds? And I'm
Yes.
talking about Global Citizen,
Yes.
because they even awarded someone who goes on demonstrations and has formed a group that ensures that people across the continent are able to keep their leaders in check. So it wasn't only in Ghana that a leader was booed. In America, that same night at the Global Citizen Festival, the U.S. Democratic Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, was also booed savagely.
No, but so you think
would you say that that's also... Thing? I'm not saying that, but I'm asking you.
Demonstration,
you are saying that it's a bad attitude.
Booing leaders, when you can... Look, there's a thin line, or there's a difference between criticizing and insulting.
What do you call this one?
What do you call it? It's obviously an insult.
How is that an insult?
You criticize people by booing them.
How is it
when
an
we
insult?
come here and there are issues to be discussed, you obviously have your own stance on them. You ask questions. If you ask insulting questions, wouldn't you be insulted back? But, I mean, we need to really check our attitude as people. And especially if Americans are booing Nancy Pelosi, does that mean Ghanaians should boo their president?
No, but it happened in Ghana before. I'm just telling you, you're talking about the fact that it's disrespect.
If you said someone who went on a demonstration was awarded...
For encouraging... No, hold on. For encouraging Africans to keep their leaders accountable.
Of course, but...
if you're not allowing yourself to be kept accountable and people are expressing their emotions about your governance, how is this an insult?
On daily basis, we hear on air associations issuing petitions, associations speaking their on day as we sit here. I speak for government, I speak for my party, but we have the General Secretary for CPP here. We have a spokesperson for NDC here. That's how you build a nation. I would say what government is doing, they will counter with what they think they would have done if they were in the situation. That is how you build a nation. But if we come and sit here and Gabriela is booing me because I'm in government, then what do we achieve? We won't achieve anything. So we really need to check this aspect of indiscipline.
How did you expect Ghanaians to express their, disgruntledness?
People are expressing their opinions. Today, when you are having issues on your news items and all that, you call people with expert opinions. You run news items of people who are agitated by their conditions, issuing petitions that goes to government. Government receives those petitions. People have been going on demonstrations. People are allowed to express themselves. Do you have to go and misconduct yourself like this to send a message across?
Should the president have mounted that stage in the first place? There are people who are talking about the fact that the national security failed, in this matter. And of course, there are people around the president because they should have also weighed the space at the moment, the economic space, and known that that was not a platform to mount at that point because anything could have happened? Do you agree?
Well, I think it's a global citizens award, and with all the issues that we are having with the SDGs and how COVID has eroded the gains that we've chalked in that respect. I mean, there was a beaming youth all in frenzy. I don't think there was anything wrong. If security... the security apparatus had superior information and intelligence, and I am not privy to that. But for me, it was a platform for the president. He called on the youth to support the SDGs.
Yeah.
And how much more can the president say to the youth? So I think, that aspect of it was bad, shouldn't be encouraged, must be condemned. If those there went to that group of people misconducted themselves and all kinds of, but I don't think we should extend it to every youth because we have youth in this country that are doing fantastic. Well, if you take it, even on the business here, we have youth who are doing very wonderful things, and I won't derail any youth by drawing them to them. And sometimes I'm of the opinion that age is really not a good measure for what the brain can do.
Is that not why you should be condemning what Katie Hammond said, that, there are young people with coconut head, and he even talks about the fact that they have beards and that's what they're focused on?
I don't think you go and be booing a president. That one...
You don't think this is disrespectful to say to the same young people that you expect to vote?
That's what I'm telling you, that
for your party, since you want to break the
When you insult people, they will insult you back. But I don't think we should drag it. I don't think youth in this country are full of coke. Youth in this country are doing fantastic things. Youth in this country are special people. But whatever Honorable Katie Hammond said was to those who went to misconduct themselves. And if they decide to go into the gutters and people decide to use all kinds of invectives on them, they chose it. But I don't think we should rope all youth in it.
He's older. You expect him to be wiser in handling the situation. And I don't think you think that two wrongs make a right. So if you say that young people, do you think that two wrongs make a right? If you say that young people, per your words, insulted the president by booing him, Is it right that an older person who should be much wiser would come and insult
Bella,
them in return? And you think that's okay?
My issue here is us dragging it to cover all youth in this country. That is my point of
Nobody
reference.
is dragging
Whatever Honorable Katie Amon said, that's his opinion. That's how he wants to address the issue. And I don't think that is something I should worry myself. But you dragging it.
I am
all
not
the
dragging
issues facing, well, if you are not dragging it, we're trying to make it seem as if youth in this country are no good or anything. I mean, those who decided to misconduct themselves, whatever you use on them, they called it for themselves.
Nanaya,
And I think we should
what
be
do you
better
make of the
at that.
Honorable Katie Hammond's statement about young people booing the president?
Thank you very much, Bella. Good morning to your viewers and good morning to everybody. Good morning to my lovely sisters here. We need to posit the argument very well. Is it about the booing or about Uncle Katie? For Uncle Katie, that is what it is. That is how he comes across. I mean, if you say it like that, and sometimes you find it very difficult to really understand whether he's serious or he's just talking. But even the objects that he is akin the brains of the young ones to, that object has a soft tissue. And that soft tissue is useful food. And that object also has a liquid, which is also medicinal. So it is neither here nor there. A coconut is not empty. And the brains of these young ones has the same soft tissue that make them think and do whatever they do. So his argument doesn't even sit properly because the coconut is not empty. It has something in it. The other point is that we need to also find out what actually happened. We need to find out what is the mood. For me, disrespect should not be countenanced. Disrespect should not be accepted in any form whatsoever. But we have to also look at the mood in which these young ones are. We need to be very, very careful that the dissatisfaction of the youth does not get out of hand. Because if we take it for granted, we shouldn't take the dissatisfaction of the youth for granted in this nation. I mean, whatever is making them dissatisfied, government should run and deal with it. And we cannot also say that everybody who was engaged in that action was a youthful person. You might have seen a section of the youth in the video. Some people might look very young, but they are not young. But for me, it is not a good action. I mean, booing at the president publicly, we need to be careful. It is done elsewhere. We need to be circumspect, but we should not also forget about the mood because it is a reaction to anger. It is a reaction to hunger. It is a reaction to idleness. Because most of these young people do not have jobs. And for instance, even in their mind, they think that, so you have money to organize this program, and we don't have money to look after ourselves.
Yeah, but that wasn't organized by the government of Ghana,
They don't
by
know.
the way.
My dear, do you understand?
Just putting that across.
I am just telling you what happened. You see, the government is not in tune with the people. You have to know how the people think. You have to know how the people see what the government does. So you need to be in tune. And the national security, why the after, the word is not coming, but the after action. So before they got there, they didn't do a boundary spanning to find out, to scan the environment, to find out what is going to happen. They couldn't project what situation is. Then it means that our president himself is in trouble. Because so if they couldn't project that today, there might be some disturbance. So maybe the president should not go. Do you understand me? I believe that when the American president is going somewhere, the CIA, they are able to tell him that, look, Mr. President, this thing is not pleasant. You should not be there. Send your vice or send your chief of staff. So they did not know. They didn't do an analysis of the crowd. They didn't do any crowd analysis to find out who was going to be there. And now they are saying that the NDC is involved. They did not know prior that the NDC was involved, and they put the president in this situation? I mean, how can you just say one thing that kills my heart is that anything that happens right now, NDC should be involved. I have been seeing a government in power that is always running after the opposition when they need to focus on the needful. Because everything that happens is equalization. NDC did this. Now they have even added Kwame Nkrumah. So when you speak, then they'll go back and say that Kwame Nkrumah did this and Kwame Nkrumah did that. But Bella, you cannot run a nation like that. You have a job to perform. You have gone through 6 years. We are in this crisis. You have to know what is going on. Bella, prices are going up. I mean, you feel the pinch when you are in there. These young people, they don't have jobs. They finish school, they don't have jobs. Some of them, their parents have hope in them to come and look after their siblings, their younger siblings. They are not working. Even if they have jobs, they are underemployed.
But is that enough excuse to go to an event and want to boo the president when he makes an appearance?
Please, the anger. It is not a good practice. We should not encourage it. But we shouldn't also just sweep it under the carpet and say that NDC sent people to boo the president. That is a very simplistic view of what happened there. Because it is not very common of Ghanaians to do what happened there. Some people are having the argument that since it was a global conference, there were people who were also from other countries who were present. And maybe they reacted to things they have seen on social media. That is an argument. We don't have any evidence to that effect. But what we are saying as we see it plainly is that this reaction came out. And this is not very common of a Ghanaian character, considering our culture. So instead of the MPP sitting down to say that this has done that, they should do an analysis of what happened there. Why should this thing happen? You see, let me tell you, today when I was bathing, it just occurred to me, for the longest time in this country, Nana Addo was everybody's darling. When he was in opposition, everybody thought that he was going to do marvelously well. Even when he didn't do well, people made excuses for him. So why is it that today, a group of people are booing at him? How can NDC make anybody go and boo at the president?
Are you saying that it's far-fetched? It's not possible that the NDC
I am saying that how can that happen?
But we all know that it is possible. It may not happen, and it doesn't have to be NDC necessarily.
It can be,
but any group of disgruntled people can decide.
But sweetheart, all I'm saying is that at this point, whatever happens in the form of dissatisfaction, the government should take it seriously.
Okay.
Not blame anybody. The national security should do a diagnostics of what happened there to find out exactly what it is.
Okay.
Do you get me? Because you see, if they are saying in the NDC, you don't react to such an action with a press conference. There are leaders, granted it is. There are ringleaders who organized it. Why don't you bring them in for questioning? But apart from that, you have to do a diagnostics and look at the whole environment. What is this action representing? It is representing dissatisfaction. Even 3 or 4 people are dissatisfied. It's a recipe for disaster, because those 3 or 4 people can gradually seep into the community. The Arab Spring, it started with the youth. And as long as the youth are dissatisfied, we need to be very, very careful. Because you see, if you do a profile of armed robbers, go to the cells, go to the prisons, most of the people there are between the ages of 16 to 35. 16 to 35. Why is it so? The men, we need to locate and look at the young men. Because of what? Poverty. It is not right for them to be engaged in crime. But if you disengage them, somebody will engage them in an activity that is not good enough. That will hurt the nation. So we need to be sure and need to make a diagnostic view and take an approach of investigation to find out what actually happened.
Okay. Gabriela, I mean, the accusations flying about the NDC and the fact that they're complicit in what happened at the event ground. They took people there and asked them to boo the president. What do you say to that?
Let me say a good morning to our viewers and good morning to my co-panelist. That is a very far-fetched assumption. And it's unfortunate that for a government that had a lapsed security, think that the NDC is responsible for innocent Ghanaians expressly defining their dissatisfaction with a government and showcasing just how upset they are with the current management of this country. You come and associate it with the NDC. You have 65,000 NAPCO beneficiaries that you have left unemployed. Per the security analysis that went on prior to President Akuffo Addo going to stand there, he was told that we have national service personnel and NAPCO beneficiaries in the crowd. You have 65,000 NAPCO beneficiaries that you owe 10 months arrears. You don't need us to match anybody to Black Star Square. Your own, the offshoots of your own bad policies and programs is what met you at Black Star Square. Honorable K.T. Hammond, it was most unfortunate that a man his age will still open his mouth and utter such kind of words. There are countries in this world that are led and governed properly by young presidents under the age of 40. So to think that just because young people have grown beards and they express themselves, that they have nothing in their heads, and they are, even God, in his own wisdom, when he created the shoreline, even though the sea is full of water, still put coconuts along the shore. I think that you journalists, you should refrain from putting microphones in front of Honorable K.T. Hammond. You do him a big favor, and you do all of us as a country also a great favor.
Okay.
In 2016, AFAC went on demonstrations in London. They booed at then President Mahama, and they called him a thief. That was AFAC, a baby of President Akuffo Addo's creation. In 2016, Madam Otiko Jaba called Mahama a wicked man. Today, she has seen her level of who actually was wicked to her. They've left her unemployed. After all the effort she put in campaigning for president.
They gave her a position, by the way, an appointment, and she was the one who rejected it. So if you say they left her unemployed, you know
that thing, the woman. Let's keep our conversation.
No, I'm just saying, just to put that out there. They didn't
the point I made was that
she
said he was wicked. Despite all that, Mahama was forgiven to all of them. President Akuffo Addo was booed because the youth of this country are very angry with him. The only reason they still manage him and tolerate him and his government is because we've all bought into this idea of a democratic Ghana. That is the only reason that Akuffo Addo is still sitting there as president. For the mismanagement of this country, for the hardship and the difficulties that he has imposed upon people and their families. And mind you, whenever there's a crisis, the group that suffers the most are the youth. When there are employment layoffs, last to enter, first to exit, they are always the ones whose names will show up first. Many of them are students. They can't afford their school fees because their parents are now reeling in difficulties with higher cost of living. Those of them, it was a cosmopolitan program. Nice outfit you wore, by the way.
Thank you.
It was a cosmopolitan program. You have students who are paying in dollars and pounds, and today your currency has depreciated astronomically, 34% in just 1 year.
Even more.
So, look at the rate of inflation. Now at 37%. Cost of living is drilling people. And everybody is experiencing it by President Akuffo Addo and his wife. So she can afford to go and buy a 290,000 Ghana cedi vintage Chanel bag, plus a 19,000. They go back to buy the extra bag and spend on themselves because they are not experiencing what you are experiencing.
It could be their personal money. We can't really.
That is their choice. You know, let me tell you something in history. Prior to the French Revolution, when Marie Antoinette's chamberlains told her that the commoners are complaining that there is no bread, she was so lost in the scheme of things. She said, let them go and eat cake. That was how lost she was. That is how lost they are. So, Bella, let's not waste too much time on
well, I just wanted your point on this, yes, of
President Akuffo Addo actually deserved the booing
Well, he was
And
cheered
more.
as well.
And more.
So it was mixed reactions.
I saw a video, one of your colleague journalists who was saying that next time people should go with tomatoes so that they can be thrown. Even my
I'm not
class
sure
of
I've seen that
with
video.
it. So
I mean,
I'm not
that's,
asking
no,
anybody
but
to go
that's
and not
exactly,
on anybody.
That's
But-
wrong. You wouldn't want anybody to go
but the
and
fact
help
of the matter really
the
is
president
that
with any
the
of
fact of the
such
matter really is
materials.
the fact of the matter really is that this government has been nothing less than shambolic, incompetent, useless. We are even out of adjectives to describe just how bad this government is. And of course, for the government that always blames everything on Russia, Ukraine, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming that for all that we are going through, we'll still have a member of parliament called Honorable K.T. Hammond, who at his age will come and insult young people that we know next to nothing.
Well, Loretta says that if young people decide to insult the leaders, then they should expect nothing less than their own bit of the bitter pill.
You see, you trend a lot on social media. So you know the kind of conversations that young people are having on social media, on Twitter and on Facebook. When they speak, you sense the anger and the disappointment behind the words they speak. Currently, if you monitor these pages and their responses, it's full of insult. It tells you the level of despondency and aggression that is building in these people. So I would prefer, I always say this, I prefer that you insult me so I know how you feel about me, so I can address it, than for you to hold it in yourself. And then we both don't know where we stand, because explosive anger can never be controlled. I was listening to the National Security Advisor yesterday, and he said something very interesting. He said that in this fight against terrorism, it can cost 1 million just to keep terrorists away, but when you allow them in, it's going to cost us billions. I have the same philosophy, that if you allow pent anger to build up and not released, the consequences of that can be more disastrous.
Okay.
And the anger of the young people is real. But the president, Akuffo Addo, and his security men, and all those who are hanging around him, should also understand that the challenges are real, and people are really feeling the difficulties. So when you showed up to a concert, don't think that the NDC is behind what people are expressing. People have a choice to also express whatever it is that they are feeling, and that is them expressing it,
All right.
not us
All
using
right.
people.